Everyone, and welcome to Suburban Stone Age. And today I'm going to give you a tour of our Victory Garden. This is part one, and I'm going to show you our Victory Garden in the front yard. Part two will be in the backyard. But I'm still doing a lot of spring cleaning, and the backyard isn't quite up to snuff yet, so we're going to start with the front yard first. So, we've done edible landscaping for many, many, many years here at Suburban Stone Age. So a lot of our Victory Garden is really just cleaning up some of the seedlings that have grown in since our rain. Fortunately, we're somewhat through the California drought, thankfully. So the last few years we've had rain, which has brought up seedlings. See, there's the calendula that's flowering. So the seedlings that we have, and you'll see in a minute what they look like before they've been weeded, are calendula seedlings. Calendula is a medicinal plant. I'll let you guys Google it, but it's one of my absolute favorites. It's such a wonderful flower, and I use the oils on my hands, especially nowadays because I'm washing my hands so many times per day due to the COVID-19 situation that they're so chapped and dry. So a moringa oil and calendula hand lotion is what I make from the flowers that I grow. But these flowers get really happy. So they self-seed every year, and that's been happening for years over years over years. So I end up with the situation like the Parkway over there, that big old weedy thing. So I'll show you that in a minute. Any case, this bed here, as I've weeded this morning and cleared things out, I also planted in the understory lettuce and cilantro seeds. I used the spice packet that I got from the grocery store of coriander is the spice, cilantro is the plant. And as I was going through and weeding, I sprinkled in seeds first, then went through and weeded everything with my trowel, and in the process went ahead and dug the seeds in anyway, so it's kind of an efficient way to get that done. These are the fig trees. That's comfrey. That's aloe vera. These have been here for a long time, so, basically everything in this little patch is going to be edible or medicinal. Used to be lawn, too. We took it out several years ago and converted it into edibles, edible and medicinal plants. All right, hang on for the next bed. This bed here is that traditional front planter bed. Our house was, built in the 60s, and everybody had these little garden beds right up against the house, the little border in it. Many years ago, I planted, there were roses here, and there still are actually, because roses turn out are pretty tenacious when they get established. But they were ornamental roses, and I made the decision, this was one of the first beds, probably, back in 2012, maybe 2013, that I decided I was going to convert over to edible gardening. And that's exactly what I did. And so now what is in here, the bare earth I went through again, and I, pulled up all the seedlings. And in this bed we have, of course, calendula, which is taking over the world. We have nasturtium, and I left a few of those. And you can see over there, I left nasturtium. You can eat nasturtium. The little seeds they have a peppery taste. The seeds and the flowers. The seeds can be pickled. Flowers you can eat in salads. I don't care for it though. But what I do like is the flowers. They're pretty. And also nasturtium, when the aphids start to get bad, when we have another warm day, the nasturtium acts as a trap crop. So the aphids will go after the nasturtium as opposed to my other plants. Or at least there will be less of an impact. So I use the nasturtium as a part of the strategy for organic pest control. You'll also see this bamboo here. This was my bright idea last year. I love my bamboo. I have a couple stands in the backyard. This is the giant bamboo though, and I wanted to grow my own building materials. So I ordered some of this. I think it's the variety Old Hammy. Anyway, I ordered it last year and I planted it. It seems to have survived the winter. I'm just going to have to garden around it because I want that too. And we'll just have to, the plants will just have to potatoes will have to learn how to grow with bamboo, and beans and so on. So that's the scoop there. As you can see, I already have potatoes coming up. That little dude right there is a potato sprout. And that's not from what I just planted a couple days ago. That was there. Just like these guys were there. I have feral potatoes everywhere in my yard. I find them randomly because I always miss a few when I garden. So it's not uncommon for me to find a little treasure hiding in the ground like these potatoes. And then we'll eat them. Fresh potatoes from the garden are amazing. If you've never had them, they're wonderful. Or I'll just replant them and keep it going. We're going to have a potato explosion here this year. So that is this bed. Let me take you over to the other front yard. Hold on. All right, so this is our front Parkway, and I'm not particularly proud of the state it's in at the moment. As you can see, it's incredibly weedy, and it's weedy with that calendula. That's all self-sown. So it too will be weeded very soon, and I have yet to decide what I want to plant in here as far as a vegetable or some other kind of food item. But what we already have in here are, that's a pomegranate. This here is a persimmon tree. And then we have garlic here and there. I'll point them out in a different video. Some California natives. We have yarrow. California poppies will be coming up. So that's the Parkway, but really what it is an example of how much work there is to do. And I've been kind of complacent the last few years. I haven't really felt compelled to do a very detailed job in the garden. And this is what happened. So I have a lot of work ahead of me. However, it does start to shape up nice. So this is a section of the garden that I worked in this morning. And those little steps are leading up to, there's that front planter there we were just talking about. So what we have in this situation is, I think that's German chamomile. It's chamomile, either German or Roman. I can't remember anymore. It's been a couple years. We have hummingbird sage here, which is a California native and has been spreading like crazy. It is really happy here, and I am happy to encourage it. I believe it is in the mint family, and when it blooms, it puts up these big purple flower spikes that the hummingbirds absolutely love. So that is really fun, and bonus points for being a California native. We have our strawberries here, there, and everywhere, although they've gotten small over the years, but there's one guy. I'm going to try to propagate those out and grow more. Again, comfrey, which is a medicinal plant that I really love it. It has so many uses. And it's also good for compost too. We'll get into that in another video. Comfrey is a whole video in and of itself. And then we have our apple trees, 2 varieties here. That's a Fuji. I forget that guy, he's new. I think I planted that. This is its 2nd year. Over here, little baby peach tree. And this is my big nectarine tree. And here's the big mess that I've made today. So I'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, so you can see the rest of the yard too. I have yet to weed out all the calendula in this portion of the yard. And this is the big mess that I've made. In it are all the weeds, oregano. I have an oregano problem here. My strategy for the weeds, I pull the twigs because the twigs don't compost well. But in situations like this, especially because I'm going to be putting a lot of effort into composting this year, is I'll make these piles of weeds, and then I'll let them sit for a day or two to wilt and dehydrate, and then I will add them into the compost pile. And that's after I've picked out all the woody bits that won't break down. Follow-up is key, otherwise you'll end up, if you don't go back after a couple days and do that last step, you're going to end up with piles of plant trash everywhere. So you do have to follow up. But composting takes effort, but it is super worth it. So that's what I do with a lot of the green. This is a lot of the nitrogen that's going to go into the compost. This year we're also going to have a lot of carbon in the form of wood shavings from the chickens I'll show you them in a sec. And look at that. See? It's food gone wild. That's a little cilantro plant I didn't plant. It is growing somehow from somewhere, a little volunteer. I love them though. I'm actually eating them too. Okay, so we have yet to do this section. And then this section of the whole parkway. I'll do a follow-up video when I'm done with it, and we'll do a grand tour at the end. But that's where we stand. So Victory Garden, yay. We're planting food again, doing all the edible landscaping. A lot of the edible landscaping's already here because of the trees, but we're just doing more. So there you go. I have one more thing to show you before we go. Hang on. All right, here's the last section. This is turning out to be the workhorse section of the garden. This is the other planter on the other side of the house. There's kale in there. There's a few other, there's an artichoke there at the end. I trimmed the roses out. This rose here, my husband 17 years ago gave to me when we were dating, and I planted it, and it's just refused to die. So that's cute. But anyway, the chickens are out here in this wonderful little shady nook. There's a pond in behind that fern. This is the chicken tractor. There's lots of ways to do a chicken tractor, but basically, you know, I drag this thing around to a different spot every day, and that's where they play and scratch and dig in the garden. And in this edible spot right here, we already have several figs. That's a fig tree. Blooming right now, and it's just so lovely, is a dwarf nectarine. And then these guys, which I'm absolutely loving. They're called Mexican sunflower trees, and I forgot the Latin off the top of my head. There's two of them, and I'm telling you, they get huge. I mean, they're as tall as, they grow past the eaves of my house. See, they're taller than that. But what they're really good at is a windbreak. And in our climate, they produce prolific, they're in the sunflower family. They produce prolific flowers in the fall. Pollinators love them. The goldfinches love them when they're migrating through. So I'm going to plant a little more of these because we need some protection from the east wind. And then finally, way over there, that is the, oh golly, I'm blanking on the name. I'll put it I'll put it below in a caption. But anyway, that's the state of things right now. I'm working my way through weeding and planting while I'm home for the COVID-19 lockdown here in Southern California. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you want more videos on raising backyard chickens and growing your own food and all the things you can do at home. To help be more self-sufficient, and it feels good to get out there and garden. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you have any questions, leave me a comment. All right, guys, we'll talk to you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.